What's up, guys? Welcome back to the My First Property podcast. And in this episode, we have a UK specialist. Yeah, right. She is Shelvin. You want to introduce yourself a little bit?
I'm Shelvin. I am an entrepreneur. It sounds really heavy, but it's a very fun ride. I am a UK property specialist. But I think in general, I also handles all sort of overseas properties. The forte is mainly in the UK at the moment. I also used to handle some properties and projects marketing in Australia. And the same goes to Japan, Singapore, US, but much on the smaller scale.
Yep. So how we met is after I go to UK, then I got really curious. Curious about the market, curious about laws, curious about everything. Then I see a fellow friend who works out as well. So then then we check out the profile. She's also you work out a lot also, right?
I am a fitness trainer.
Oh, okay. So that's
Still am, but going to freelance now.
Okay. But then you run this firm called Red Bean Consultancy, right? So that's a very Chinese.
They're cute.
Yeah, so like when you see Red Bean, right, real estate won't come to picture, right? So you want to talk about a little bit about what Red Bean do?
We are basically a boutique real estate service provider. When I say boutique, because we are our own bosses in that sense. But we basically migrate all the experience from where we learned from the corporate outfit back then, where we were still with bigger commercial firms, into our company. But we are more fluid in that sense. So fluid in the sense of scope of services and how we cater or give a customer experience to the clients. So if I just do a very, very brief comparison with what we used to do back then was just, okay, I throw you a project. We run projects almost on every week basis. At the point in time when I was still with a bigger commercial firm. And it was a back-to-back basis, exhibition, bang, bang, bang. And then we just sell from one project, then we hold on to the other. So there's a lot of intense, that sort of learning curve where we need to switch our mindset and compare project and compare customers. So I think it was a lot more sales-centric and sales-oriented. But I think what's missing back then was the customer experience. So in the end, I myself and my business partner Jess, she's not in Malaysia, but she was my boss. So we were basically the pioneering team. We were with Henry Butcher back then in 2009, but she started in 2008, and I joined her the following year. And I was intrigued when I was with the team. I was like, wow. Telling London property so fun. I have a set of big misperception as what everybody does who are still not familiar with UK property. I'll be like, so far, how do we invest? How do they bridge the gap? Bridging the gap in the sense that the property services that comes after the completion of property. So, the rest is history. That after I joined the team, I learned so much. It was a very steep learning curve. But again, what's missing is the customer experience. So we are very, very customer-centric. We love to sit down with clients and go through their thought process. So they give us what they have in their mind. We clarify the thought process. Once we clarify, then only you say, okay, so we have your criteria all pretty much set in the very realistic terms. Then perhaps let's move on to the city that you like. We are not even focusing on project yet.
Yeah, it's very different.
Baby step.
Yeah.
It's very much like a hand-holding journey. But back then it was different. Back then it was like, oh, you sit down and buy along.
Yeah. Whenever I have stock,
It's just like any other story you see from any sales gallery in Malaysia. The customer walk through the door. Okay, you choose unit.
I cater the project to your need, right? So that's why when I check more about it, I read more about you guys, right? What is different than like what you say, customer experience? But like after the UK trip, then like for those who have saw the vlogs, right? I almost booked one, but tak jadi. But a lot of people go around telling, like even in the property talk, right? They were announcing, oh, Sean is international property investor.
Real though.
Yeah. I'm not.
Like, finally, we recruit Sean.
Yeah, but not there yet lah. Still poor.
Don't keep me.
Yeah. So but what I'm more interested is like how does a person like suddenly decide wanna invest in UK especially like how was like what's your clientele journey like? How does one
We have clients from different walks of life, but if I were just to categorize them into different categories, the biggest one would be the person who are very investment savvy. Okay, this sounds like a very general term, but I think investment savvy also goes back to whether you just want to invest in your home currency or you want to go out.
Yeah.
Or you really understand what diversification means. Because diversification can come with different forms, like apart from diversify on your currency,
Yep.
you invest in a safe haven currency, then subsequently you're earning when the currency appreciates. That's a very, it's not rocket science, it's very, very simple to understand. But also those who want to diversify their risk. So those clients who already have property in KL, say for example in Damansara, right? When the market is going through a bit of quiet time, I wouldn't say it's a downtime, but it's more like quiet. And there's not so much of transaction going on in the area. But at the same time, he has property in London. And, you know, London has a very dynamic rental market.
Yeah.
In the sense that you put your unit on the portal, listing for rental, looking for tenants. The next day, you get over 10 to 20 applications.
Yeah. I heard it's that insane.
That easy. I'm not even joking because I went through that every day with my customers. And with my letting agent as well, I'll be like, Shell, I don't have this stock anymore. Then, okay, I need to ask my client whether they want to rent it out because they are buying for their own use. So these are the stories that I have been experiencing, and even for me, I'm equally thrilled as well. I'm very shocked. I was like, oh my God, it's like really the shortage of rental stock or home stock is very critical. And I wish that we had that in Malaysia.
Never mind. Never mind. So like for those who are not familiar, like after the first culture shock after I go to UK is the scenario, like what Shelvin just shared, right? Like people have open house just to rent out their property.
Oh yeah.
People had offers, right? So when they asked for 1,300, they close at 1,500 because people want to outbid each other. And they do it during the summer instead of the winter because winter people don't want to move house. Those kind of very cool facts. Because in Malaysia, one weather only. Actually, we got a few seasons. We got season durian, season banjir and all those kind of thing. But yeah, so the main thing that to understand, like yesterday I just answered a question from a couple from British.
Oh.
So they are coming over and they also like, oh, Sean, I want to buy straight away 5 properties in KL. So the first thing I address, right, it's the market sentiment, where in UK it's extremely undersupply.
Yep.
Right? But in KL it's the other way around, oversupply. So in 1 month, we have like 12 launches.
The rental market is so hot that I'm also perspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's something very important to take note also. But maybe later I can just share like why I didn't proceed with the deal, but how I wish I did. But anyway, you focus a lot on London and Manchester, is it? Or other?
Yes. At the time being is still around 80% London, 20% Manchester. Yeah.
So how does one decide? Like for me, right, back then if I were to buy, right, 90% of the purpose will be to save something for my kid in case he wants to go to
Yep, you're on the right track.
Cambridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if right? If you don't go Cambridge, then screw off. So, but the during the visit, I had a meetup with my audiences. So a lot of them actually travel from Birmingham to Paddington just to meet up in the Starbucks. Then suddenly the waiter actually came over because I speak pure Malaysian. Then they were like, who is this? So suddenly no slang or whatever. But then I realized there was 3 Oxford students. When I hear the education fees, Oh my goodness. 18 years from now, right? Here I need to sell at least I think 1 or 2 properties just to make up for it. Then my wife keep buying the stethoscope for my kid, right? Oh, then he starts playing doctor. Oh, yo, don't scare me. But jokes aside, is that the primary motive of how people invest?
Yes, I think there are a couple of motivations, but in general, because Malaysians are very education-centric, Malaysian parents, so to speak. So they do see education as the first motivation. So apart from, wanting to have the wealth preservation benefit, I also want to do legacy planning, but education is pretty much the root of all motivation. We have clients who have kids studying all over, like, Oxford, Cambridge. Yes, we have a couple basically. But the popular ones are still in London. Still in London, like LSE, King's College, and Imperial College. So what I want to address here is that those universities in the London area are basically top 50 university in the UK. In the world, not just in the UK regions, in the world. So the ranking does speak for itself. You have a whole different experience being a student there, let alone being an international student, because the studying dynamic, the interaction between the students and the lecturers are
very different. Yeah.
If I were just to compare my experience being in Melbourne, I think it's a far cry, because I used to study in Melbourne. But in the UK, it's a lot more on presentation skills, analytical skills. So the experience is what really draw the Malaysian parents. But if they manage to send the kids to study there, then what you need to really be concerned is the accommodation costs. So if you don't do your pre-planning well, okay, like for example, you have a kid going to to one of the uni like LSE or Queen Mary in London, but you will be slapped with a lot of accommodation bills. First year, definitely you'll be staying in student dorm but subsequently you'll be kicked out
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have to look for your own accommodation. That's when the parents, the Malaysian clients that they went through the same experience, they realize that OMG is so expensive, because it's like a one bed easily is asking at 1,500, 1,600 minimum pounds per month. Per month. If you are looking at a studio, slightly lower like 1,400 2-bedroom can go all the way to 2,500. So in the prime areas where LSE is located or King's College is located, Imperial College, all these are prime areas. Unfortunately, they are very prime in that sense. Hence, the rental cost is also very prime. So in the end, they share the experience with their friends, with their peers who still have young kids. So we had those referrals coming from clients and say, oh, we are referred by this ABC client and we have kids going there in 5 years. We would like to do pre-planning because we take his advice. This is one of the examples. It's a very simple example. Hence, you will see there are clients who have young kids, like, coming from the age between 8, very young, or even 5 years old, all the way to 15 years old. They are already buying property for the kids. And the property they are buying in the UK doesn't have to be property that they will stay in during a uni year. It's not.
Just to preserve.
It's a forced saving.
Yeah.
For saving, and if the kids says that, oh, Papa, Mama, I graduate, let's stay in London, I'm going back to Malaysia, which is quite a general landscape from our clients, then they can take the uni and stay. It's actually a bonus path for them. I buy this, I have a forced saving, I get a rental income coming from my saving and cover my children education fee, or even their living costs, whichever way they want to put it. Then kids studying happily for 4 years, bye-bye, whether bye-bye back here or bye-bye and work there, different story. If they work there, go back to the uni and stay. You're just paying for the repayment for the mortgage. Then the kids can also pay a nominal rental to the parents when they earn. So that's the customer experience that I have been hearing.
And also generally that's the sentiment from Malaysian point of view, right?
From Malaysian point of view, but I think there are a lot more sub-factors. Apart from having educations, Malaysians are also very investment savvy in the sense that they really want to grow, not just coming from the wealth they have
Yeah.
in Malaysia. They want to have a portfolio in overseas. So be it a social upgrade or whether it's really purely coming from diversification purposes, it doesn't matter. But subsequently, people are looking at whether you can make money from overseas countries. So what we really focus on is giving them a layout of the market stages, whether we are in a booming stage, whether in a recovering stage. But so far, after the GFC in 2008, I don't see UK market going through a dip or a downtime. It probably held up for a very quiet time, say just after Brexit, but just a couple of months.
Yeah.
And people are still buying, people are still renting because they need a shelter, they need a roof above their head. But there's just not enough stock available. That is the problem.
Yeah. So when I was there, that's the whole sentiment lah. That's why when I'm there for 7 days, right? Wow, come back must buy must buy until you look at the conversion rate . And also the down payment required. Yeah.
The down payment, because you're buying from Manchester, I mean, you intended to buy from the Manchester property. Yes, actually, in general, I just do a very general comparison. Manchester does require a bigger deposit, some being even 25%.
Yeah.
And it's all in a span of whether it's a one-shot 25% down payment
or is it installment.
But what I would like to address is that the installment, the deposit is not according to construction progress. It's just a requirement for overseas buyers because they don't know who you are and you're being cross-border.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it's fair for the developers to ask for higher deposit. So because the payment term is so different from Malaysia. In Malaysia, we buy something even though it's off the plan, then this is our job to make client understand that, before you walk through this door and have a discussion with us, it's best that you have a bit of clarity in terms of your finances. So financial planning is very essential in that sense. Not saying that you don't have money, you cannot buy. No, everyone can buy one. But it really depends on how you plan it. You have to set your end goal. Set the timeline, set the deadline, and set the angle. So what we usually advise the clients is, you must have this amount of income per month. Then you make it in such a way that is this X amount estimation annual income. From there, you need to decide what is the percentage of FD you want to put in or any savings.
Yep.
Then from there, you can plan your way throughout. In a span of 5 years, I would say, some clients don't have to plan because they already make money.
Yeah.
So for them, it's not relevant. They will only look at you and say, hey, what is the median price? What is the going rate in London Zone 1, Zone 2? Then I'll give them the price tag. Then they'll be like, oh, wow, so high. But actually not high. It's not. It's depending on whether how much money you can come up with. You don't have to come up with 100% cash. The beauty of buying property in London is where you get the line of credit. You can get it not just from the UK lenders, you can also get it from Malaysia. Maybank and CIMB Bank, they are offering mortgage to London properties, even Manchester property. And the same goes to Melbourne or Australia.
Oh.
They do.
But what are the rates like?
It's pretty similar to getting a home loan here for your property here.
Sure, no.
Higher, just
4% or...
It's close to 5. It's a +1.
Yeah.
But I think it's fair. If you compare with the rates in the UK now, because currently we are sitting in a very high interest.
Wow, 9 when I apply.
Huh? Why got 9 one? Wow, really?
Yeah, like when I calculate everything, it's around 9 my interest.
No, we never hit 9. Who do you stick to?
In accordance to my references.
Okay.
Okay.
On average, our client is getting between 5 to 7.
5 to 7.
9 is a bit more like a bridging loan already.
Yeah, so I'm like a developer. So I thought that if you were to apply the BTL, it's also +1, another +1 or +2, right?
No.
No. Okay, my resources are wrong.
There's no such discrimination per se if buying to stay or buying to rent. In general, the UK market, especially when it comes to lenders landscape, they are very friendly, I would say, fair. They understand that this market has a lot of movement in terms of transaction and it's easy to rent. So they usually use the rental income potentially derived from the unit to calculate your monthly installment and also to calculate how much you're qualified to borrow without seeing your income first.
Yeah. So that's something very cool, right? For UK properties is the property qualifies the loan for itself before they
Yes.
right.
If you simply put this way, yes, I agree.
Then so the lender is like a bonus attachment. If the lender is very strong, then like sure,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
And the beauty of UK property is where you can get interest-only loan. You don't have to pay for the principal. In general, Malaysians are all paying P plus I mortgage, where you serve the principal value as well. So the chunk of repayment every month is, if you buy something on a high price, then definitely your commitment is higher. But in the UK, you have the leverage where you just paid for the interest portion, okay? And you may ask me, so how about the principal portion? What do I do with it? Sell it, especially when it comes to a property that you only intend to invest. You're not going to stay. You are just going to, take advantage of the rental market and rental demand, make some money in the span of maybe between 5 to 7 years, and that's the general property cycle. And then after 5 years, you think that okay, it's time to let go. I'm gonna jump on to another property. I want to upgrade from studio to 2-bedroom. Maybe.
yeah.
Then you sell it, and the sales proceed will cover the profit. The profit you're making plus the principal will be covering the principal value that you hold with the bank. As simple as that. If you sell £500,000, but your base value, your acquisition price is £300,000, 500 to cover. To cover the £300,000.
Yep. Again, this story applies to only UK because the shortage is so high that developers are actually controlling launches. They don't want to sell so fast because the process to get the approval to launch, right, is so difficult. Then because of that, new properties, like we say 300,000 to 500,000, right, it's like close eye, pretty confident, right?
Yeah.
But in Malaysia, no more right? Don't have such thing That's why their interest-only loan portion makes a lot of sense. You now not only like every month you get positive cash flow, then at the end of the 5 years or 7 years, when you want to exceed, you can just sell.
Correct.
Right? So that was the expectation of the British audience when he write in. So I need to explain that. Meaning such scenarios only applicable to Singapore and UK.
Yes. Only if you have interest only loan.
No, we have also an interest only loan in Malaysia.
We do?
Yeah. For the first 5 to 7 years. Yeah.
But the interest rate is higher.
No. But it's only interest only loan. But in Malaysia, the sentiment is buyers still prefer to pay off principal.
Yeah.
That's
our traditional perception towards owning property in Malaysia.
So I want to also touch about like diversification, right? There are levels to it, like for the audience who don't understand, right? Like we all think about, you hold gold lah, share lah, real estate lah, and then some Bitcoin, right? That's diversification. Then in real estate, to diversify, you can go in terms of type, commercial, right? Land, if I can, right? Who don't want land? Then houses, apartments, or whatsoever. After that, you can go by location. Some in Johor, some in Penang, some in Malaysia. This is when UK come into play, where not only you are diversified in location, you are diversified across market, across currency. And that's how a lot of, after the UK, the whole UK trip, right? My network of people that comes to me and talk about UK properties, suddenly I feel like, whoa, I'm posh. So posh. Because like, hey Sean, like you should tell me, I'll just let you visit my unit wherever, and like, how many units you have? Like 8? And just when you thought you have 8 in Malaysia, you a bit show off, right?
Yeah.
They have like 20 over across UK.
Oh yes.
and it's very common. So to me, again, you feel way poorer, and it's not necessarily, of course, the initial capital, like you say, you need to be there, the income needs to be there first, but from there, right, you can just see the surge of wealth keeps going up.
Yeah. First, you need to really take a leap of faith. Really, if you don't put that one step forward, you will always be there and gain nothing. You're literally at status quo forever lah, in that sense. So I can even use my very humble beginning lah. It's like where I started my property investment in Malaysia. Okay, Malaysia, that's how I gained my experience in Malaysia. Then I hop on to overseas market, and it was because of my dad. Because he would sort of force me to buy a studio unit just behind Swiss Garden. It's just quite prime in that sense, but at that point I was like, oh, what's property? I wasn't even with full comprehension of property investment. But for him, he has to help me to start somewhere lah.
Yeah.
So he say, Aga, just go and sign the contract. I was like, what is this? What's so many pages?
Yeah.
Sign. And then, Aga, you need to go and apply for mortgage. I need to apply for mortgage? Why? Why do I need to pay for home loan? I don't even like this property. Then he just hold my hand and say, trust me. Okay, fine. I trust him. Sign and all that. So we get a key. So it was basically a display unit for the entire development. Small and cute lah, studio, 400 odd square feet. And then they throw in all the furniture. I was like, so small ah? People don't want to rent one lah. You know, it's all kind of common mistake or misperception in your head when you don't know the market.
Yep.
Fine. Then I say, but how do I look for the tenant myself? Then he say, yeah, why don't you just do it manually without going through an agent? And little did I know that it was pretty interesting, right? I would say afterwards. So I don't think I will ever know how challenging or how demanding it is when it comes to property management. Especially when you manage the property as a landlord without going through an agent. So I really want to salute, I really want to give all the respect to property manager. You guys are really
very underrated.
Correct.
Very, very underrated. Underappreciated also.
Underappreciated. So I went through my own tenant selection. You know, I spoke to most of them. But I was still very young, so I think there are a lot of hit and miss lah.
What age was this?
23.
Oh, so good one.
I know, but very scary because I really didn't know how. And I wanted to get my dad to mentor me, but he was very busy.
Typical Chinese like, like they want.
He's like 自己去做了。Okay, then 我自己做。So I pretty much was on my own. Again, very, very steep learning curve.
But looking back,
no regret. I sold it with good money. But I think what is the message I'm trying to convey here is, you know, all these steep learning curve is where you realize that, everything needs effort. Yes, it is common knowledge. But it does also need financial requirement, especially when the equipment or appliances are breaking down in your unit. Because I think when we were young, there are a lot of things that we sort of, you know, we have a mental blockage and think that, things will last forever, especially your washing machine, your fridge, everything. Then one day, a couple of years after the completion, the tenants call up and say, I'm sorry, Miss Tan, your washer is not working. Your cabinet is like going to collapse. I was like, okay. I didn't know that I actually need to come up with extra money.
Yeah.
So again, that's how I started my forced saving again. Sinking fund forced saving. I have my own sinking fund account. So I just probably put like, say, 100 ringgit per month. Okay. Then in a year, you have 1,200. Not bad lah, I would say.
And that's a good way to think about it. I just had a question about this, like the last session we had in Starbucks. So there was like a person like asked, like, how do you prepare for damages and repair fees? I never thought of the sinking fund methodology. We should have one, but if you have a lot of properties, especially,
and it doesn't take a lot of money, to be honest. I started with 100 per month, then if I mean your income will improve
Yeah.
you work harder lah. I mean that's life, right? Then you subsequently you just put in more money every
But
150, 200.
and the good thing is appliances keeps getting cheaper lah.
Yes.
Last time 800 cannot buy anything. Now 800 can buy a lot of things.
You don't have to buy premium brands. Anything that is at the mid end, that kind of quality works. Then the tenants will appreciate you as well. So every details count to then contribute to tenant retention, or whether you can do a rent review.
Yep.
Whether you can negotiate a better rental with them. So I think the entire experience was giving me a lot of aha moments that, oh, 原来是这样呀. Apparently it works this way. Then it then prompted me to do a financial planning for my next property.
Oh.
Yes. Because that's where I understand the essence of financial planning. From a very small thing, a very small petty experience, sinking fund savings, then I realized that everything comes with planning. And everything does come with financial requirements.
Yep.
So I have a chat with my business partner, Jess, who was my boss, and she was very experienced in terms of property investment, not just in Malaysian market, but also in the overseas. And she said, when you have money in your account, you're probably a salesperson, for example, and you rely on a commission payment.
Yep.
Okay? So once your commission payment hits, what do you do with that? I was like, keep your account. She said, no, wrong. Recapitalize it. Invest. I said, how? Invest what? In shares, in bonds, in, all these different asset class, She was like, no. You can do the division. Okay, you can still do some shares investment, but ultimately if you trust property, right? Why don't you pump most money into your property first? Because that derives stable income.
Yep.
It offers stability. And I wouldn't say they are all recession proof, no such thing. But stability is what we want to achieve, especially being a very conservative investors. We don't want risk.
Yep.
We don't want dramas. Hence, that I do my financial planning from there, which is very important. And in turn, that I managed to buy a second one in 2012 in Puchong, and then Melbourne, London.
Wow.
Financial planning, really, it works. You need to trust with the peer that have success story in the market, who have experience. You must invest with trusted partners as well.
And that's rare though.
Rare, but it's workable.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is this, like it's way easier to believe that the market is bad.
Everyone wants to see the bad news, man.
Yeah, so like bad news spreads like wildfire, man.
Correct.
And they don't have to justify why, man.
Don't have to.
Yeah, so like,
people just like to absorb what is being portrayed on the media.
Yeah.
Media always tend to portray the bad news.
It's good for their business.
Correct. Yeah.
So, property bad. Yeah, short property bad. Property bad. Don't buy lah. Then can buy EVs, man. You look at they are changing cars, like the new. Wow, you see cars like no need money one,
Yeah. One thing about Malaysian,
our passion towards cars is insane.
Yes. We like to listen or succumb to peer pressure. That's our problem.
Yeah, one car 300 over 1,000, then Tesla 199. Wow, dirt cheap. Wow, must buy. Wow. Then wow. But no house to put it in. So what's the point?
And the cars depreciate. So
yeah. So
just,
so I think like in your life, like you found that mentor, right? And that's like a common theme for a lot of seasoned investors that I know. They also have like a person that teach them like, hey, save your money,
correct,
put or whatever shit, right? So I think that's a very rare thing. And another rare thing is that these people are willing to share.
They are willing to share because they already reap the fruits.
So for from my perspective, a lot of people don't want to share. Like they have 18 and we don't hang the SPA around our neck, man. So you won't know that this person got 18, 20 until that day we go and record a unit, right? And they were selling below market value property, but they just want to dispose because the owner apparently has 128 units.
Oh my god!
Internationally. Then we were like, is it a developer? No. Then you were like, oh, yo.
Rich Malaysian here, they look very just as
Yeah.
ordinary as any, uncle, auntie in pasar, right?
Yeah.
Be like, oh, you're the auntie next door, but actually she has 100.
Then the cool thing is when I go to UK, when I tell people, hey, where are you from? Malaysia. Oh, Malaysians love UK. Right? So it's so famous, right? Until like everybody just buy and buy, right? So maybe like since you are doing this for a living already, what's the main like mind blockage for people to take that leap? So okay, this is a very selfish question for me lah.
And it's all because of not being familiar. I totally get it.
Yeah.
And I would have, committed the same mistake if I'm not in this line of work.
Yeah.
I think overseas market can be a very intimidating term, especially when you don't know the country.
Yep.
Especially when the country is far away. Like
12 hours flight.
13 hours, 14 hours.
Yo, the flight.
I know.
How often you travel?
Twice a year lah, okay lah.
Or twice a year, or twice a month lah.
Cannot. Twice a month I died already. I'd be like walking with a crane already.
Well, I go there. Wow, what I like? No.
Trust me, I never liked the flight too. But because of work, I'm willing to go all the way there because I can pitch for all the jobs that I like.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it because when you are on your own doing this as an entrepreneur, you get to pick the project that works for Malaysia.
So okay, this is going to be a very direct question. Like, is it like, are you like a real estate agent, or because you sound very different?
More like an advisor. I don't really see myself as an agent.
So you don't tie to any projects, but you tie to a client.
How do I put it? Okay, I work for both developers and clients.
So like matchmake them lah.
Yes, correct. So we.
This one 唔啱你㗎啦.
But we also have a job to deliver lah. So developer will ask us to conduct campaign promotion.
Yeah, like the ads that you do lor.
All right. So we still have to host physical events. But on the side, we are also doing a lot of development and personal investment advisory lah. So it's very
because that side, right?
very versatile lah, I would say.
Because that side is not as loud.
Yeah.
The personal.
They don't know the customer lah. We are Malaysian ma. We speak to Malaysian every day, so we know how to bridge the gap lor.
Yep.
Because a lot of mistake came from mismatch of expectations.
Okay.
Especially when they don't know the country, they don't know the legality of the property in the UK. They don't know foreign ownership, whether it comes with any restriction. They don't know there are some stamp duty calculations that they are not aware of. So a lot of people just blindly purchase, commit, and in the end, when they do the completion, then they got shocked.
Yep.
They'll be like, need to pay stamp duty one.
Oh yeah, the stamp duty is a big thing. 2%.
Just the surcharge. Just the surcharge as a foreigner, as a non-UK resident. But you also have to pay a 1% surcharge because if you are buying as of investment product or you own more than one property in the UK, in worldwide.
Okay, so because I'm not familiar, so okay, like what's the common, like maybe you can list out 5, right? You can share like what's the common things that usually Malaysians would don't know.
They thought there won't be any mortgage available.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They always assume that they have to come out with 100% cash. Then I'll be like, hey, no, we have mortgage.
But now, so now today I learned that Maybank and CIMB actually offering very competitive rates because from the Singapore counterparts, right, they a lot go for private lenders.
Yeah.
That's also a avenue, right?
One of the avenues.
Yep. So rates, are they competitive?
Right.
Quite. Okay.
Right. But our rates are being the better one now than the UK lenders are offering. Oh yeah.
Maybe I should rebuy. I should call back my person. Okay. But I need to say goodbye to my watches. Anyway, so the second thing, what was the second thing, right?
Second thing is they assume that they have to manage the property in their own capacity.
Okay.
Which is not right, because we do have a line of network that will support throughout the journey, even after completion. So we have partners coming from furniture companies who would do the installation of the furniture. And it really depends on the client's expectation, whether they are buying just to rent it out. So you don't have to throw it exorbitant rate, when finishing. You can go with a very basic one, says one day you probably pay around $5,000, including utensils and cookery and all that. So that's doable.
Because most of the units that come with fully furnished cabinets and all already, right?
Fully fitted, I would say.
Yes, fully fitted.
So the standard inclusions in the UK is where they will include all the fittings and fixtures, including the lights, down lights. Furniture-wise, no, only the loose furniture is where you need to add in. But as for the tilings, flooring, walls, kitchen cabinets, washer, dryer, fridge, everything is in. It's quite a hassle-free in that sense. It's not a fully turnkey solution, but it's half turnkey. My job as an RBC person will then arrange a furniture company to match even before completion. So once they got the keys, the next day the company, the ID company can then access to it and do all the installation. It can be done fairly quick, like 2-3 hours.
Because it's really not like Malaysia one. Malaysia is like naked one.
Bare unit. So I got a shock as well when I bought my.
But our side is okay,
Consider okay lah.
But you haven't seen China one.
It's laggy bare. That's super also.
China don't have WC one.
You
need to buy your own. And that's and this is a practice that last time when I was building during the construction days, I was building a semi-D. Then suddenly this uncle walked into the site. Don't know how he walked in. Then he asked me, "Hey, my unit, the toilet bowl don't install. I buy my own." They're like, wow. So that's the way that how we like it. And so that's the fully fitted one. And I think this is very obvious for Singaporeans, I realize. Because a lot of Singaporeans are still like home investors. So, but for Malaysian, I think if you are deciding to go for UK properties, you already have a portfolio of properties in Malaysia, I assume, right?
I think the profile is a bit different between Malaysia and Singapore. Singaporean is, while they have the stronger purchasing power parity, obviously currency is also in their favor. They can afford HDB, but they cannot afford to buy a second property in Singapore.
That's why everything's still self-managed.
Well, I've seen that, agents in Singapore will be saying that, since you cannot buy anything in Singapore,
buy UK.
Buy UK.
So the push factor for them is obvious, very, very obvious. For Malaysia, then, classic example.
It's more for portfolio lah.
Portfolio
and wealth preservation, legacy planning for the kids. I think the reasons are a bit more valid for me in that sense. And it's more sustainable in the long run.
Okay. Third one.
Yes. Third one is they would assume that you don't need to pay income tax in the UK.
Oh, really? I think Malaysia got the 12,500 extra rebate, right?
That is a personal allowance, tax relief. Okay, let me just start from a very basic lah. If your rental properties in the UK are deriving income for you, then you are subjected to paying income tax in the UK. In the UK, not in Malaysia.
So how you derive income then? You minus installment.
Because your tenants are paying you income, and usually in most cases our clients are going through our agents in the UK to manage the property. So they will
do all the accounts for you.
Alright, you will have a landlord statement every month. But even prior to that, your agent must register you as a non-UK residence landlord, NRL. Non-residence landlord.
Okay.
To the HMRC, which is our MHDN.
Income tax officer.
Correct. So you have a tax number, tax reference number for you to file in the tax. Okay, cannot run away. Because a lot of clients would be like,
how you run away? Your property is there, brother.
It's making you Monday pay for the tax. But I think one good thing about tax in the UK is it's very straightforward, super straightforward, and you are also allowed to get all sort of property-related expenses to deduct.
Oh.
Yeah. And the items can be a bit more than Malaysia, which is something that I really like. So you can, once you have your financial year, is when you are required to pay for your tax, right? For income tax. What we do is we will introduce tax agent to our clients. Some will have to do their own self-filing. It's okay, go right ahead by all means, because you know your expenses better. But you just have to do the manual way right? Print out the forms and courier back to HMRC. But those
That old school one.
very dinosaur age one.
Must be black ink somewhere.
But you can you can also do the computer one, but you have to install a commercial app
Oh.
So that's not very convenient for a lot of people. So tax agent can come in and give you all the hassle-free filing in that sense. All you need is to give them all the receipts, landlord statement. Then they will do all the calculations, computerize it, within maybe 2 or 3 days done. They can submit to you for review, sign, and then pay your tax accordingly.
Is it very big, the amount?
No, actually, I haven't paid tax because I have negative gearing. I'm very happy. What I did is that I keep all my papers in properly in the folder in the folder in my laptop, because these are all electronics receipt anyway. So
Yeah, in UK everything is electronic.
electronic.
Only the tax filing.
Yeah. There isn't like tax filing is
So weird.
the print out.
Yeah. So you buy whatever, all got emails.
Yeah.
Email to you. And
Yeah, they even have a landlord app. Some agency will give you a portal to sign up as a landlord. So you get all the expenses laid out there. It's very comprehensive.
So it's not a main thing to be concerned of if you do it properly.
Not, to be honest, if your income is not hitting 37,000 per annum GBP, after minusing all the expenses, right, you'll pay a very minimum tax rate at 20%. And eventually, because I have the 12,500 personal allowance, I actually pay very little. In my first and second years, I actually didn't pay any tax.
Not didn't pay, you don't need to pay.
I don't need to pay. Sorry, I don't need to pay.
Okay, clarify.
Everything, right? Okay, I got a minus, negative value and then I still have to file and submit to the HMRC. Otherwise, they will penalize me I don't do it.
Okay, so the only difference here is when a Malaysian who is working there that has an income, then when you invest there also, then it adds on
Yes, it adds on.
So but then since it's negative gearing means it kind of reduce more also.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to pay so much tax, you buy property.
So as long as you understand that your rental income is not a separate tax filing, it's not, because it parks under your income tax. In the UK, then from there you can do your calculation accordingly. If you don't work there, you don't derive any employment income in the UK, then it's straightforward.
So Malaysia can enjoy this extra 12,500. Only Malaysian.
Sorry, Singaporean.
Yeah, Singaporeans don't get it. So when I go there, right, and sure you don't buy. lagi kena belakang. Okay. So
consider seriously.
Yeah, so okay, so tax, loan, furnishes, land. Okay, a personal question is about the leasehold freehold thing. So a lot of people don't understand what freehold is. So
it's I think generally Malaysians or Asians are quite
obsessed about it.
Adamant with leasehold property, leasehold title. I don't know, because it's like, being leased from the government. It feels like there's no ownership per se. Okay, which I get it. But in the UK, it is a whole common scenario. I think very, very common. Most lands are under the government. But obviously, there are also private lands where developers will buy it out and they become the freehold title holder. They lease it back to you, in a sense.
Yeah. So most high rises are leasehold,
In today's market, yes.
right?
Especially when there are quite a large number of Asians invested in the market since after GFC. This leasehold has become longer from 250 years to 999. Very interesting story is a fun fact. They designed 999 because of Asians.
Oh, well done. Or Malay. Huh.
Asian.
Asian just loves real estate.
Asian.
Yeah, Asians. That's why when I go there also, even the cool fact, we had dinner. I don't know which developer already. We keep having dinner, then eat all cool food. Tak boleh tahan. Then, but the cool fact is they are very weirded out by our culture of buying properties, one.
Yeah.
Because local, like a lot of people think that, hey, why locals aren't buying? Then they will come out with all the complaints like, our income not high lah, we got a lot of tax to pay lah, whatever, right? Like Malaysia don't need to pay tax like that. Yeah. Right? Then we all divide by 5 and then we are still going over, right? So I think it's a lifestyle choice and the income issue. You're not innovative enough. But here, the common thing when I talk about leasehold, freehold, I got corrected a lot is because some are government land, some are private land. So in the end of the year, they will need to pay a fee to the landlord. But after that, after last year, it was called peppercorn.
Yep. It's called the ground rent. So for those who sign a contract or complete a project before 30th of June last year, will still have to pay for the ground rent if they buy a leasehold property lah. So the ground rent is about between 0.5 to 1% of the property value per year. 1%? No, sorry, 0.1%. Sorry, 0.1%. So if you buy something at 500,000 pounds,
it's 500.
It's 500. A lot lah. It's a year. It's not per month. But in the end, they changed the law. So those who bought property after the year of June last year will not need to pay for the ground rent. But there is a bit of how do I put it? I wouldn't say a compensation, but it's how the developer make the commercial decision as to how to cover the losses of ground rent revenue. They of course they will factor in a bit of a premium into prices after. Yep. That's how they.
So suddenly after that, the property prices.
P&L makes sense.
So no developers will build in losses.
Correct. They won't build for losses. They will just build for profits. So that's the situation. But again, ground rent is not I wouldn't say it's a stigma or a taboo. Leasehold is not a taboo. It's very common title and tenure. Freehold is where you don't have to pay for the ground rent, but in today's market, it doesn't matter anymore because now even the leasehold doesn't need to pay for ground rent. Yeah. So don't allow this to cloud your mind or your thoughts when you want to invest in UK property. Leasehold and freehold, even in the lender's eyes, it doesn't matter. They don't even charge a premium because it's a leasehold property. They don't charge a higher interest rate because it's a leasehold property. No such thing. It's equal.
Cool. Last one. This is like 考试 this is the exam
But I just don't. I just like sub.
Yeah. I think the sub factor, if you know this already, then you want to know more, then they can always contact you. Okay, I think the upfront costs. If I were to buy a property, let's say, if London 500,000 makes sense. In Manchester, 500,000 is quite luxurious, really. Right? So, 500,000 property. What's an upfront payment that is very comfortable?
Okay. Apart from the stage deposit, we call it as a stage deposit because different developments will impose different payment terms. But in general, they will impose anything between 20 to 25% down payment, and it can spread or break down into 3 or 4 stages of payment. And in between payments, there will be probably an interval of 6 months. Okay, so that you should be prepared. Like in that sense, your deposit payment has to be prepared within the span of 2 years, you must come up with 25% or 20%. Okay, that we set aside.
Okay.
Acquisition cost. Acquisition cost is more on the legal fees. You have to sign a contract with a lawyer. Okay, and the lawyer cannot be a Malaysian lawyer. It has to be a UK lawyer. So legal fees, in general, for £500,000 purchase, it will be roughly about £2,002 plus VAT. Can be 2,005 depending on the depending on the law firms lah. But the sweet spot is 2,000 plus VAT lah. VAT is 20%. Some law firms will require you to pay upfront full upon the signing of contract and the first 10%. Some will require just 75%. Then the 25% is upon completion.
Okay.
Again, really depending on the law firm.
Yep.
Okay.
Malaysia also lah.
Correct.
有得傾嘅，有得傾。
Yeah, the king. But in the UK cannot king lah. So different culture. Cannot be too Malaysian. Subsequently, you need to look at the stamp duty. You need to come up with stamp duty is only payable upon completion. So if you buy off-plan developments, you have about 2 or 3 years time to get to the handover, right?
Yep.
So don't worry about the stamp duty now. You only need to take care of the payment on completion. So 500 odds, you'll be looking at about anything between 7 to 8% stamp duty. And that's inclusive your foreigner surcharge 2%. And the surcharge coming from whether you're buying to invest or you have more than one property worldwide. So all in, bao ka liao. If you are UK residents, then you will enjoy some savings. I won't get there because you can easily have the information on the website.
Yep.
Okay. After acquisition costs, definitely there will be some legal disbursement. Again, I can't give you the exact amount. It's all the variables that will defer the amount. So for example, there will be office expenses lah, or title lodgement expenses lah, land registry fee, blah blah blah, all the data. But it won't go more than £2,000 lah.
For legal.
Then it's about 1,000 maybe maximum.
So this is on top of the 2%, the 2,000 just now lah.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's all because you don't need to pay us. Just the legal one, just the transaction cost.
Okay, then after that only when you have letting agents, then when you have property managers,
Yes.
but all that can be derived from your income from your rent really,
That's correct, yes.
right? Tempting. man.
Intention.
I need to say goodbye to this. Yeah.
You can be Uncle Nigel, Uncle Roger's neighbor, hopefully.
Actually, we know each other. One. Actually, we know each other. One. Hi, if you're not watching.
He's my 学弟, right? He's my junior from school.
Which school? The Zhonghua.
中华读中.
Yeah. So
中华
no, my wife is.
Oh, okay.
Then let's not do Nigel's exposure here. So weird. Yeah, he's so famous now. I'm going to tap his name. Yeah, but anyway, I guess that's all for today. Like, thank you so much for sharing all this, right? Like for any more information, like because it's very different. Like the one that I went through is a very bulk purchase route. Right, so it's
a plot-based
yeah.
sort of concept.
Yeah, so like 30 people. It's like what we do in Malaysia, very common, but there is like a new concept. So it's like 30, 50. Yeah, it's like in Asia, like Singapore, Malaysia, but suddenly we go over 30, 50 units, right? So that's why I was like kind of rushed into it. So like, wow, I come back, haven't, my skin haven't moisturized enough after the COVID. I also need to buy property already. So if the decision was pushed back maybe 2 to 3 months later, right, I would have got it. But then at the moment, right, anyway, then I think your approach is very different where it comes to very personalized, which I like, right?
Yeah.
And from a Malaysian point of view, especially if you are not very informed in real estate terminologies. Like in Malaysia also buta buy already.
A lot of people are just jumping in because of being buta under friends' influence. Hey, I buy what you don't buy. Then you be like,
yeah. That's why in Malaysia, we take real estate developers for granted. You pay 500, right? And you wait until you get your keys.
Yeah.
But
Some are
in
gimmick.
in UK, it's very different. So that is where it scares a lot of people. But I would strongly suggest that a lot of uncle aunties, right, that I know very rich one, right, they ask me to buy wine. Sean, you should collect wine. You see, you're like a wine person. I don't know how this is a wine person, but yeah, I think for any more information, I'll just put your link,
Yes.
your company link down below. Do reach out to them, and I always believe that you will never know more. You'll never know enough, one.
Yes. It's a very, to me, it's an endless journey lah. You keep learning along the way. Even me myself being in the market, in the industry for more than 16 years. 16 years and counting, but I do think that I still have a lot to learn.
Then every year got revision,
Yeah.
new system,
New laws, new terminologies, and the law for building, for landlords, for planning especially, keeps changing one in the UK because of the market is just different. The dynamic is just different because there are so many landlords and investors in the market. So there's a lot of efforts coming from government to make sure that everything is being conducted under a legal.
Yep, the anti-money laundering thing is
It's a top-notch measure. I was like, wow, I like it, man.
So now got the cool fact is, and now developers are reaching out to me. Then they want me to do some videos for them. And I'm like, me? Then like, okay lah, make video, right? Wow, the amount of forms to sign to prove the money. Oh yo, goodness! It's like
That's just the tip of it.
like gangster. But anyway, so that's
you feel quite naked lah when you fill out the information and you're like, why they want to know so much about my 家产?
Yeah, lor. Anyway, so I guess thank you so much, Shelvin, for coming. And if you guys got more, just reach out to them, and I will see you guys next one. Ciao.
When love